to kind of like just let's see. I need a bigger camera, basically. Either a certain camera to be able to hook up to PS4, so where I can actually live stream and do what I want to do, and I want to do time-lapse videos, because a lot of people have actually liked my opinions, I guess. I don't really care. I mean, I'm not really like the best person to get along with most of the time, I don't think. I'm a pretty like reasonable guy. I know people have different opinions than me. I know some of them are based on fact, and most of them are based on what they believe is fact. And I'm not saying I'm like conservative and I just don't believe that or something like that. But I mean, I'm saying that like there are people that have differing opinions, and I respect that. So I'm just gonna see something. I got this thing. It's my progress of my my dragon, I guess. And am I gonna do it today? Maybe just today, I think. And then I'll play video games afterwards too, because I think it's really cool, and I think it's really awesome. Maybe I'll do it today. I'll probably take out about like 30 minutes of like actual gameplay, I guess, of doing stuff, and then just do my my dragon, basically, the dragon that I'm doing for my mom right now. And yeah, I think I'll do that. All right, and I'll put the camera close by, I guess. I mean, not to show how dirty my fucking room is, but to show how my progress is coming along, I guess. And all right, so all right, let's get into a game. Online, let's go online. Go online. Go online. Is PlayStation? You know what? I'm not even gonna do this. I'm gonna do my dragon. I'll take 30 minutes out of my live stream, I think, when I go into an hour or something like that. So let's talk about a topic. There have been a lot of times me looking up news stuff like that, and I mean, I kind of miss the notion of being a terrible person to terrible people, because my cutoff points are basically Hitler, and I don't really think that a lot of people are supposed to be blamed for the things that they do sometimes, because they can be in dire straits as far as mental capacities, and they have to realize in some cases that it could be things that not only that they have done to themselves, but what they're used to as far as evolutionarily. And so if your parents believed in God and instilled that into you, whether negatively or positively, your reaction to someone who doesn't is like, okay, I had a situation when I was in high school. I was talking to my coach, and my coach believes in all the other stuff, like believes in a whole bunch of different stuff that I don't believe in, basically. And my coach believed in that a lot, and I told him that we evolved from basically chimpanzees and monkeys and all that other different stuff, and he didn't want to believe me. For that, he basically ostracized me out of the class and told me, didn't really ostracize me, but told me that I was gonna have to drink my own pee, basically. So I think a lot of people don't get it sometimes whenever I say things like that, or whenever I try to inform people that don't want to be informed. That, I mean, there is like evidence, I guess, of cave paintings and drawings and the way that people used to help other people and stuff like that. a lot of that stuff got washed away by either environmental or physical, human damage, somewhat sometimes. And I think a lot of people don't understand that dragons really did exist, like flying or not. Um, Dinosaurs existed, so I mean, there's got to be the bones of it somewhere, you know. And I think a lot of times people don't understand these things, or they don't believe in these things because they think that it has a lot to do with magic, or it's perceived in fiction and stuff like that. A lot of people don't understand that dragons did exist. Like, they were dinosaurs, but they were in between evolutions, and in some cases they'd eat on to or chew on to like their breath was fire, or it was only wasn't really breath fire. It's more like they breathed a hot mixture of their temperatures were higher because they moved faster. And I mean, I want to like, I don't want to get into aliens too much because it's a topic that's up in the air, supposedly. Not really, but it's a topic that's left to a lot of debate as to which type of alien or which type of thing. But we can kind of like congruently see that these things evolved from, I'd say, like, basically horses, or horses evolved from them, or, you know, like, I mean, you can kind of see the realization of where some animals actually started to evolve because of the ways that things like the hot sand or anything like that of different places, and either European or Western, or or maybe even Asian. I think there's a lot of deep culture sometimes in what people would know as the things that started to do things, and I don't think they classify a lot of different animals when they start to change or evolve as far as patterns go. I think there's a lot of times when people are away, or people are trying not to take care of those things, and more focusing on their own social, I guess, inequities. There have been a lot of times where I've noticed that all right. There have been a lot of times where people don't really give credit to any of these creatures that could have actually existed, or, I mean, actually have records dating back to, like, not Mesozoic but medieval times, and I think that's the reason why a lot of people didn't do. I think the real reason why the Vatican holds a lot of information about the church and about what they did and back in those days wasn't just to proliferate things from people, but more things from things, or things from creatures, basically. Like the St. Peter's or St. Patrick that drove the snakes out of Ireland. It's like that's kind of like a clever wording, I guess. Sometimes people don't understand really the meaning of all that stuff, or the clever wording in scriptures and things like that, of different things that I've learned, or like symbolism that's meant to not be symbolism, kind of thing. And It's the reason why I think this is really cool and awesome and stuff. And I guess I'm gonna start because my thing isn't loading. Let's see here. All right. Let's see if I can move this. Have this seat point down, I guess. No, I can put it right down right here, I guess, and put it. What's up? I thought this was behind you, on the couch. Yeah, behind you on the couch. All right. So there's my. Whoops. I should have just closed my closet. See most of my wardrobe, which is basically trash. But let's see here. I'm gonna start doing something. Let's see here if I can move this. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna do this and hopefully I can turn this channel of my opinions into, because my opinions change over time. I know I don't believe in, I believe that racism and a lot of different things can be excuses in some cases for people who just don't have or lack the social skills to be able to congruently allow themselves to be in society and participate in changing evolutionary things like I myself have based racism and all of the forms of indifference to basically childhood, and that's where it starts, where people believe or think certain things that are basically just not true, I guess. Okay, we're gonna start with some green, and I'm gonna do something really cool with this. All right. Where's the green at? There it is. Alright, so I'm doing this on my PlayStation camera because I think it's pretty cool to do that on until I get my own camera. Alright. I'm gonna do this. Just dab it more. Gonna rest my hand on the horn because this can be a lot strenuous activity. People don't notice this, but holding your arm up a lot, people do it off camera, but they don't understand that it is one of the reasons for shoulder problems in old age in artists. And a lot of times people don't understand that. I'm gonna ash in that cup, excuse me. The reason why I rest my arm is I know for a fact that I'll get shoulder pain later on, and I'll have to relax myself for a couple of hours to be able to basically paint again. So this is what we're gonna do. It's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. And it looks kind of choppy right now, but and I'm probably gonna get a better camera to do this, but it's just basic blotches and stuff like that. And that's it. I like to do things, I like to explain things in the moment, and this is what better way to do this than with a camera and a live audience, if so, I guess at any time. I don't presume that animals existed in some way, shape, or form. I think that that they did exist, and or not animals, these animals right here, dragons. And it's proven because of the Komodo dragon. Basically going back, let me see how many years. Let's see, back to the biblical times, I think. Almost biblical. Yeah, really biblical. So, a lot of times people don't understand that, and there's the sirens. A lot of times people don't understand that, that a lot of really cool creatures existed, and basically along the lines of what Pokemon would be. And a lot of times people don't understand that the rise in CO2 isn't so much of our people, scientists have seriously speculated about the real extinction of human beings. I think what the extinction of human beings actually represents is the introduction, or what people would say is the extinction of human beings that represents what it really means is an introduction to a different creature or subspecies. And that's my younger brother leaving. Man, a lot of times people don't get to notice creatures until they've been drawn, or something has been made to represent it, like lions and things like that. A lot of kids don't get to realize that creatures are meant to cohabitate with. A lot of times, I think what it was in the previous eras was to stay away from, or to maim, basically, any creature that came too close, because you would think that it would be magical, or put a curse on you. What I think a lot of times people don't understand about their own habits, or their own understanding of the animal kingdom, is that it took a lot of hits back in the day because of people's want for things to stay kind of what's the word, under wraps, I think. And that was, I think, the reason for a lot of people not using, or not broadly mass producing electronics and different things they thought would be useful as a tool later on. And through a lot of different medieval periods, people did have access to hydroelectricity, and people didn't understand this, and that's why a lot of times it was usually entrusted to an older person, because the whole thing about Merlin and all that other stuff, and alchemy and other things like that, they basically kind of held the plot on weapons and stuff like that. So taking that into consideration, I think that people should understand that it's going to take a lot more than just perceived curses to stay away from these creatures once they start rising up again, kind of. It's going to be hard. So I'm just gonna wait for my thing to load, and then gonna keep on keeping on with this thing. Alright, and I'm going to talk about other stuff that having to do with mental capacities and the actual reasoning behind people who used to condemn creatures like this to a life of solitude and slumber. And that's because a lot of times they were hunted to extinction by people. And that's the truth, because a lot of times they didn't realize that even if dinosaurs did exist around human times, they would be hunted down for their meat. And they wouldn't be able to have any regulation on any kind of creature. I'm going to keep on going online. It's not really giving me a choice, but who cares? Alright. When these animals were hunted down to extinction, I think the Vatican, or a couple of different places, kept records on them. And the fact that they kept records on them and kept them secret is actually punishable by law. It's technically animal abuse. I don't think PETA would have a hard time prosecuting them. But PETA is an organization that exists inside of the United States in some cases, and maybe in other places, but none that I know of. Yeah, what's up? It's open. You need the keys? Did I leave the keys downstairs? They're on the counter downstairs. By the bags. Alright, so most of the time, the reason why people thought these creatures to be either extinct or non-existent was because of lore and different things like that. People would share that they would try to mix in the different opinions of different cultures within a certain number of things, and those opinions would kind of snowball, I guess, from it was the there's been a lot of different dudes who've come into contact with creatures that were bigger than man, basically, that were stronger than man, and I think that the reason why a lot of people don't really think about it that often, or some people do think about it that often and should be checked mentally for obsession and a lot of different stuff. They don't really realize it because it wasn't really a known thing back then, and I think a lot of people really kind of condemned exploring because they thought they didn't want to mess with the natural order of something. I think that a lot of people didn't realize their opportunity to introduce themselves to creatures that they wouldn't normally introduce themselves to. And a lot of times, when you build a relationship with a creature or with an animal, and creatures are animals, so I would think a lot of people don't realize within those parameters of seeing a different creature for the first time. What they don't realize is they're the first human experience that they've actually encountered. They say that pit bulls are just naturally something by nature. No, they're not exactly. Okay, not exactly by nature. By influence, they are usually, but not any animal is actually violent by nature. by influence, by the things that it experiences over time, and the things that it memorizes to do the things that it experienced again. Like cheetahs can't deal with the fact. I mean, it would mean that that a lot of animals experience guilt, and but this fact is the fact that cheetahs go after a root in Africa, and where they're mostly indigenous to, and they get after this root to get high, basically. Why do they have to go after this root? It is probably because they don't feel the want or the need to hunt that much anymore, because they've built a reputation, or they feel as though their life might end and they don't want to feel it. A lot of people don't realize this, but in order for lives and nature and all the other different social constructs to come about, you have to gain experience. Like man can't just go out and say, hey, I'm the coolest guy ever, and kind of act like a movie, I guess, because of he's only seen movies most of the time, or if he's not completely and utterly enthralled with the woman, then he's completely and utterly angry, because and this is the same way with animals. If they don't find a mate soon, or when they want to, how they want to, then that animal ceases to want to. Let's get rid of that in a little bit. I'll paint over it. The animal ceases to want to socialize, and it becomes dangerous. When an animal gets its balls chopped off, it realizes that its balls are gone. The conscious thought inside the animal is to gain something so it not can get its balls back, but so it can still find a mate. The reason why it wants to find a mate is because it wants to find something in common, something that it can appreciate about the opposite sex, in order to keep appreciating it, to stave off any other urges. The reason why a lot of animals cease to reproduce in wild or in captivity is because of certain factors that aren't given, like freedom of choice, freedom to choose, freedom to feel, freedom to live, basically, freedom to move around and have a basic want of something, or a basic a basic need, basically. I don't know. Let's see. Wait, can I do this? Let's see. Wait. Nope, it doesn't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Okay. Yeah. And there's my leg fat. Over the course of a lot of different times, these animals, I think, through technology and the introduction of technology, realized that they would soon become extinct. And I think that a lot of these animals, if they are real or if they are still alive, have gotten good at hiding. I would love to actually have them still alive, but the same applies to other animals. Basically, if you're realizing that the same things that apply to these certain animals applies to a whole bunch of different animals within the kingdom of animals, and within the animal kingdom, if you're not eating, then you're dying, basically. There have been a lot of different studies on whether or not these animals actually did have the process to speak, and or even communicate. They had, I mean, man, four-legged. I mean, I don't get it sometimes, because there has to be some sort of, because I think literally, like, man, I think literally there were a lot of different kinds of animals that I think the church actually killed off. And it's the reason why I hate the church, basically. And that's the reason why I don't believe in Jesus or anything like that. I say the world was not created by man or anything like that. But the world was not created by a man either. A man who called himself God or anything, or perceived as God. I think the world was created by these animals. Not just dragons, but guardians, so to speak, that were the kind of the cusp of an evolutionary stage that created or moved different things. And I mean, I think there were a lot of different things, a lot of different stages for this earth to be actually born of something, because we had to gain a mass basically from not some otherworldly force, but I mean definitely an otherworldly force, but like, these creatures had to have existed. It just has to happen. It had to be. It had to. There's no other way, because I'm going to get this smaller brush to do this layer, the rest of the screen. Okay. I'd say there were a lot of times where people didn't understand their gifts, basically. Didn't realize that they were being guided by something, and that something was working to unite all creatures, I think. And in order for, I think, people to be the rulers and dominators of this rock, a lot of people just went on killing sprees and killed these creatures. These animals were awesome. All these animals' depictions and everything, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. And I think a lot of people don't realize that they know, I guess. They know what the church did. Because it wasn't just the moving of people that got them to where they are now. I think it was the moving of these creatures. And you know, I think that if that's what I think Illuminati is, that's what I think Illuminati actually was. It wasn't really a thing or a faction. It was more of a faction that created the religions, but didn't have the same ideologies, or created through a certain faction or number of what's the word? Oh man, almost had it. A number of revolts, I guess. And maybe that's where all this stuff kind of meets, I guess. All these things kind of are, I guess. Is the whole thing of like I think there's a lot of times where people don't really understand the kind of gifts that are involved with these creatures, and they're not like some sort of bestowment of some sort of elemental god or elemental movement or something like that. It's just the knowledge and the know-how, I think, was the real reason. the knowledge of what they do and how they do it, I think. And a lot of times, I do really think that these animals had a lot to do with the building of pyramids or anything like that. Because they didn't have the technology, so there must have been animals that they've been able to haul these things on. Animals that were bigger, like dogs that were as big as horses, and I think a lot of times people went hungry, and these animals may have provided food for, or been as food, I think, for most of the people that were too stupid to know that they can't ruin a bloodline of animals and expect for that animal to stay in captivity. A lot of people don't realize this, but that's the reason why a lot of dogs bark at night. They bark for no reason. They bark for any reason to hear an echo, to hear something out there that echoes their thing, to see how far they could be and judge the distance with their own kind of know-how, I think. And the more they realize that they're just dwindling in numbers and dwindling in numbers, the more they're going to sort of be on seclusion, I guess, from all the forces that are humans. And they won't die off. They'll probably preserve their kind, I guess, in some sort of, not ritual or anything, but in some sort of there we go. No, don't spill them. It wasn't a monster. He's an animal. A lot of people didn't realize that monster meant creature. People didn't understand that, I guess. And people can say that they'd fucking murder this thing on sight if it ever tried to breathe any harmful liquids on them. But I think they'd probably already be dead. But yeah, a lot of different churches probably had a lot to do with the extinction of many animals that we cannot actually prove existed to this day. And probably has a lot to do with the Roman Catholic Church and Catholic churches alike. A lot of different things and a lot of different people. Oh man, I'm making myself depressed. Anyways, put some brown on this thing. There we go. Alright. I think there were a lot of times when people didn't really understand any creature, and they kind of met everything with fear, like werewolves and things like that, not realizing that it wasn't a werewolf. It's usually probably a person with a dog. And the death toll raises to 11 in Florence. Florence death toll rate reaches 11 in Carolinas, North Carolina, and 1 in South Carolina. On Friday, a 78-year-old, 77, 61, 3 people died. Flash flooding, swift water. That sucks, man. I'm not gonna say my thoughts go out to anything. I'm just being lazy. Painting a dragon. I just, oh man. It's exhausting, dude. Oh man. A lot of people that say that their hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to whatever they go out to, they're just kind of trying to get the hearts and minds of people surrounded by them. And it really sucks. It really does. I'm thinking about it already. And alright, I don't care about that. Oh, there are a lot of people that think that these creatures never existed. And I'd like to think, or would think, that they were at the top of their food chain most of the time. I don't know. There were a lot of times where I thought about this a lot, and when I thought about this, I kind of realized that it didn't matter where people's affiliations lied. They all agreed on a couple of things sometimes, and those agreeing things kept them at peace. And a lot of these times in animals, they'd have the same agreements, but sometimes they'd break down when animals got sick or tired or old. I'm sure that happened a lot. A lot of times when people are older, they tend to make the stupidest decisions sometimes. When people get old, you know. It's still not loading. Like my dad, kind of giving up on his own reality. He's gonna soon start to realize or think that he's a hero, and then it'll all fall down from there because he's been selfless his entire life. Maybe that's the reason why I think that he kind of tries to like provide the best example for me while still smoking cigarettes on his off time and his on time and his downtime and any other time, basically, and doing drugs when he was younger. So I don't know. There have been a lot of times where people just kind of disappointed me. My dad's not usually one of those people, but he has done what he's done, and my dad usually participated in the things of his old friends and stuff like that. Go out with a bang, that's what they say. But I don't usually want to go out with a bang. Don't want to go out at all. It's just basically my thing. I think people could realize that they would get along and stop using excuses like, oh, they're trying to ruin us, or they're trying to take over the market. It's just like, no, they came here because of opportunity. Just like you and your light-skinnedness. These dark-skinned people came over from a war-torn place that they knew was going to be war-torn within 5 to 10 years because everything was poor and segregated, and it's like they actually have less than that because they don't have a heritage to go back to. And a lot of people don't realize that when some people don't have any heritage, sometimes or when people have something bad going on in their heritage, they don't realize that they're hurting inside. People aren't proud of things that came before them. They usually aren't proud of themselves or even the things after them sometimes. And I think my dad kind of felt that, I guess. He knows that he was basically abandoned by his dad. And no matter what he looked like or how he looked, my dad kind of just wanted to be the opposite of that. Because the reason why he overate and overdid things, because he saw a picture of what he thought was his dad, or what other people thought was his dad, and he saw a dude who looked very dark-skinned and a woman who looked very light-skinned. That was my dad's dad, and that's all my dad ever saw of his dad, so I don't blame him, but I really wish he'd reconsider. I think my dad really thought that his life was over sometimes. He thought that this whole influential career of being a good dad and being the person he really wants to be was over the moment he stopped taking that contract. And I think my mom wanted him to, but she also wanted him to just have a career, you know? And I think I gotta do something about that glare. But oh well. I'll realize something that can actually fix it. So um there have been a lot of times in my history that I've realized that people don't have my best interest at heart. And it has a lot to do with people just staring or glaring at me for no reason, or trying to figure out what I'm about without actually asking me or telling me anything, just trying to figure out what I'm actually about, you know? And I want to do some freaking video games, but this shit isn't reloading. Oh well. This feels very therapeutic anyways. A lot of times I didn't know where my past or my present was going. Sometimes I did hallucinate. I don't remember anything from when the time I ran up to my dad when I was about 2 or 3 to the time when I was about 5, I think. And I can say it's like, oh my god, it's like a memory thing. It's just like, no, it's probably the time when my disability developed at some point. And or maybe I just got tired of time, and already I was already pissed off at my freaking family. No, I don't think this was that. I think it was more like the reason why I can't remember that time is because the more I focus on it, I probably was high functioning or anything like that. But these animals did exist. These creatures did exist, and a lot of times when it is their inkling or their what's the word? Their time again, I guess. People are really gonna wish that they made friends with them. Oh man. I think there were a lot of cases where people didn't notice that all these things, all these basic notions of functionality, all these awesome, cool looking things that people really could have like utilized eventually. I think the reason why is because everyone used it for war, or everyone thought it was for war, or everyone thought that it was an animal in pain. And yeah, it had growing pains. It's gonna get through it. But that's the reason why I think that a lot of people don't understand the cycles of animal congruency or congruency. I don't know. Whatever. Alright, so let's see, did one side of the face, or one side, one hemisphere of the face. Uh, alright. I'm gonna dab that with some tan on there and try to make this an earth dragon. Oh. Alright, it's gonna be hard to get those places right there. I'm gonna have to turn it on its side and flip it upside down and stuff. So here we go. We're gonna get some tan in here. Some tan, 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 tan. I don't know where it went. All right, I'm gonna restart this and hopefully play some video games. Hopefully people are watching.